Lexi Hull finally speaks out after the shocking Game 5 loss to the Aces, exposing corrupt WNBA referees and their game rigging tactics. You do not want to miss what she reveals. Stay tuned until the very end to hear the full truth behind the controversy. Welcome back to Chloe WNBA, your source for the biggest stories in women's basketball. Today, we're breaking down the drama and controversy of the Indiana Fever's tough semifinal clash with the Las Vegas Aces. Lexi Hull's intense expression of fury over what she called corrupt referees rigging the game in favor of the Las Vegas Aces during Game 3 of the WNBA semifinals goes far beyond mere dissatisfaction with isolated calls. It represents a profound breakdown in trust between players and the league's officiating system. Her allegations cut to the core of the sport's integrity, suggesting that the referees intentionally manipulated the flow and outcome of the game rather than simply making human errors in judgment. When a player of Hull's caliber and stature publicly accuses officials of corruption, it not only amplifies the controversy, but also puts the WNBA under an intense spotlight regarding the fairness and transparency of its officiating. Hull's comments came amid a highly charged, fiercely competitive series in which every possession mattered and where the Fever felt repeatedly disadvantaged by inconsistent and questionable calls. The frustration reflected in her words indicates that the referee's decisions affected more than just individual plays. They arguably influenced the momentum and ultimate results of the game. This deep sense of injustice filled by the Fever players and coaching staff was fueled by moments where fouls against the heavily favored Las Vegas Aces were overlooked, while Indiana players like Aaliyah Boston received what many saw as unjust penalties. These perceived imbalances in officiating created a lopsided playing field, which Hull and others saw as evidence of intentional bias rather than random errors. The fury Hull expressed also reflects the emotional toll such officiating controversies can take on athletes who are dedicating everything to perform at their highest levels on the biggest stage. Calling out referees as corrupt was a bold, risky move given the potential repercussions from league officials. But it underscored her commitment to defending the integrity of her team and the sport itself. The fact that Hull faced suspension after voicing these criticisms further complicated the narrative, illustrating the tension between players demanding accountability and a league striving to maintain control over its image and operations. Beyond the immediate game impact, Hull's accusations have triggered broader discussions about the WNBA's officiating standards, transparency, and the mechanisms in place to prevent and address potential corruption or bias. Her strong stance has galvanized fans, commentators, and other players like Napheesa Collier, who have also voiced concerns about inconsistent refereeing and the need for systemic reform. In this way, Hull's fury is emblematic of a larger movement within the WNBA community, pushing for greater fairness, professionalism, and oversight. Lexi Hull's outrage over corrupt refereeing during Game 3 is not simply about one contested game, but shines a light on deeper, unresolved issues within the league around officiating integrity. Her explicit accusations challenge the WNBA to reckon with player trust, ensure accountability, and make meaningful changes to protect the competitive balance and respect every player and team deserves. The series of questionable calls and whistle timing that seemingly disadvantaged the Fever during their matchup with the Las Vegas Aces has become a central focus of the officiating controversy surrounding the games. Fans and commentators alike have highlighted numerous moments where fouls committed against the Aces were inexplicably ignored, while Indiana players, notably Aaliyah Boston, were repeatedly penalized in ways that appeared inconsistent or overly harsh. This pattern of officiating has fueled widespread suspicion that the referees were not impartial arbitrators, but rather influenced by bias, whether intentional or subconscious, that skewed the competitive balance between the two teams. Critics point to key instances where the timing and manner of whistles disrupted Indiana's rhythm and momentum. Calls coming at crucial moments or lingering fouls left uncalled against Las Vegas exacerbated frustration on and off the court. Such discrepancies in whistle timing undermine the foundation of fair play in basketball, where consistent enforcement of rules is essential to allowing teams to showcase skill and strategy, rather than being at the mercy of uneven officiating. The fact that these questionable calls repeatedly affected Fever players like Aaliyah Boston, an integral defensive and offensive presence, only added to the perception that the refereeing negatively impacted Indiana's chances to compete on an equal footing. This perceived imbalance amplified tensions during the series and contributed to the broader narrative of alleged corruption and manipulation, casting doubt on whether the games were truly decided by the players' performances or by errors and inconsistencies in refereeing decisions. The spotlight on whistle timing and selective foul calls has thus become a crucial element in the ongoing debate about the need for enhanced accountability, greater transparency, and reforms in WNBA officiating standards. The Indiana Fever's coaching staff, led by Stephanie White, took a firm and public stance by demanding a league-wide investigation into the officiating after the semifinals, underscoring the magnitude of their concerns about fairness and integrity. This call for an official inquiry reflects not only frustration with specific calls in the series, but a deep mistrust in the current officiating system and how it is managed by the league. Stephanie White's leadership in pushing for transparency signals that the team believes the issues go beyond isolated mistakes, suggesting systemic problems that could have broader implications for the WNBA as a whole. By formally requesting an investigation, the Fever coaching staff elevated the controversy from player complaints and fan discussions to an organizational-level confrontation with the league. This challenges the WNBA to scrutinize its refereeing protocols, evaluate the conduct and decisions of the officials assigned to high-stakes games, and consider reforms that would restore confidence among players, coaches, and fans alike. It highlights a critical juncture where the credibility of the league's competitive environment is at risk if such allegations are left unaddressed. White's insistence on accountability also emphasizes the responsibility of leadership within the sport to advocate for fairness and protect the integrity of the game. The coaching team's willingness to speak out underlines the seriousness with which the Fever viewed the impact of questionable officiating on their players' efforts and the outcomes of crucial postseason games. Their actions have helped drive the conversation around improving officiating standards, transparency in referee assignments, and ensuring that every team competes on a level playing field. Overall, Stephanie White and the Fever coaching staff's demands have become a pivotal moment in the ongoing push to fortify trust and uphold the integrity of the WNBA. Lexie Hull's suspension for publicly calling out the referees and accusing them of rigging games against the Indiana Fever highlights the intense tension between players and league officials amid the officiating controversy. Her willingness to speak out so forcefully against what she perceived as biased and corrupt officiating came with consequences, demonstrating the delicate balance players must navigate when expressing dissent within professional sports. The suspension not only punished Hull for her outspoken criticism, but also served as a stark warning to other players about challenging the league's authority on officiating matters. This disciplinary action deepened the divide between the players who demand accountability and transparency in officiating and the league's leadership, which appears intent on protecting its image and control over contentious issues. The move to suspend Hull fueled further debates about freedom of expression for athletes and the extent to which the league is willing to tolerate dissent, especially when it questions the legitimacy of game outcomes. It created an atmosphere of heightened scrutiny and mistrust, suggesting that addressing concerns about refereeing is not just about improving calls on the court, but also navigating political and institutional pressures off of it. Hull's suspension became a flashpoint in the broader discussion about WNBA officiating, symbolizing the struggles players face in calling out structural problems while facing potential repercussions. It has also mobilized fans, commentators, and other players to rally behind the cause of fair officiating, urging the league to reconsider how it handles criticism and fosters an environment where players' voices on integrity issues are heard rather than silenced. Ultimately, whole suspension reveals the complex dynamics at play in the WNBA's ongoing officiating controversy, where issues of justice, transparency, and the accountability of the league itself are brought to the fore as the community wrestles with these concerns. Other players and influential figures within the WNBA, such as Nafisa Collier, have publicly criticized the league for its lack of accountability and the inconsistencies in officiating that threaten the sport's integrity. Their voices add weight to the growing chorus, demanding reforms as these individuals bring firsthand experience and credibility to the debate. Collier and others have emphasized that inconsistent refereeing not only affects game outcomes, but also undermines the reputation of the league and the confidence players have in a fair competitive environment. These critiques reflect broader concerns that the WNBA's officiating system lacks transparency in decision-making and sufficient oversight to ensure impartiality and consistency. When well-respected players speak out about such fundamental issues, it signals a systemic problem rather than isolated incidents. Their objections have helped propel the conversation beyond just such concerns about referee assignments highlighted the importance of transparency and accountability in the WNBA's officiating processes. It underscored calls for more rigorous evaluations and rotations of referees to avoid repeated involvement of crews that had shown a propensity for controversy. The situation became emblematic of larger systemic problems within the league's management of officiating, where the credibility of game outcomes was called into question not only by individual calls, but by the very officials entrusted with enforcing the rules. In summary, the prior controversies surrounding the refereeing crew made their role in the Fever versus Aces semifinal series a flashpoint for accusations of bias, significantly deepening the officiating crisis and intensifying demands for reforms to protect the integrity of WNBA competition. The games between the Indiana Fever and Las Vegas Aces were marked not only by intense competitiveness, but also by physical play and significant injuries, which further complicated the on-court dynamics and the overall atmosphere of the series. Fever players, such as Kelsey Mitchell, suffered injuries during critical moments like Game 5, adding to the team's challenges in an already tense and difficult matchup. These physical setbacks intensified the pressure on the Fever to perform under difficult circumstances and highlighted the brutal nature of playoff basketball, where every possession can be hard-fought and taxing on athletes' bodies. Injuries and the highly physical style of play magnified the importance of fair and consistent officiating, as referees' decisions about fouls and contact became even more critical in protecting players' safety and maintaining competitive balance. When officiating was perceived as inconsistent or biased, these concerns about player welfare grew, since leniency towards some physical plays could place injured players at further risk or unfairly disadvantage a team working with a depleted roster. The challenging physical environment, combined with the Fever's injuries and the officiating controversies, add layers of complexity to analyzing the series' outcome. While the Fever demonstrated resilience and fought hard despite setbacks, the combination of physical tolls and perceived unfair refereeing decisions obscured their efforts and achievements. This interplay of injury, physicality, and officiating controversy contributed to a highly charged series atmosphere that left players, coaches, and fans frustrated and questioning the fairness of what unfolded on the court. Audio leaks and insider reports have brought to light even deeper issues within the WNBA, including alarming allegations of bribery and manipulation tied to league officials. These revelations suggest that favoritism may extend beyond isolated incidents on the court to a broader culture of influence and control behind the scenes. Such claims imply that certain players and teams receive preferential treatment, potentially affecting officiating decisions and undermining the fundamental fairness of competition. The leaked audio and reports have intensified the controversy by providing what some see as evidence of organizational corruption, fueling distrust among players, coaches, and fans. When allegations point to bribery or manipulation at the league level, it raises severe questions about governance, ethics, and transparency within the WNBA. The fear that games might be predetermined or swayed by improper incentives threatens the league's credibility and damages its reputation as a professional sports organization committed to fair play. These developments have escalated calls for comprehensive investigations, external oversight, and systemic reforms to root out any corrupt practices and restore confidence among all stakeholders. The existence of such allegations also underlines the urgent need for the WNBA to demonstrate accountability, strengthen its internal controls, and ensure that officiating and league decisions are free from undue influence. Ultimately, the audio leaks and reports have exposed cracks in the league's integrity that cannot be ignored if the WNBA hopes to maintain legitimacy and grow its fan base in the future. Despite facing significant adversity from questionable officiating and the intensity of the series, the Indiana Fever displayed remarkable resilience and strong performances throughout the semifinals. Players like Lexi Hull delivered standout efforts, demonstrating exceptional skill and determination, even as their team grappled with the compounded challenges of biased calls and tough physical play. The Fever's ability to compete fiercely under such circumstances highlighted their professionalism and commitment to the sport, refusing to be demoralized by factors beyond their control. However, the controversies surrounding refereeing overshadowed many of these key moments and individual achievements. The narrative of the series became dominated by disputes over officiating rather than the players' talents or hard-fought competition. This overshadowing dampened the recognition the Fever and Hull deserved for their efforts, diverting attention away from their on-court excellence and into debates over fairness and integrity. The juxtaposition of resilience and refereeing controversy serves to emphasize the emotional and psychological challenges the Fever faced, as they were forced to battle both their opponents and an officiating system they felt was stacked against them. Although their performance was commendable, the officiating disputes clouded the legacy of the series, leaving many fans and analysts calling for changes to ensure that future contests better reflect players' abilities without being marred by accusations of bias or unfairness. The officiating controversy in the Fever vs. Aces semifinal series has ignited widespread outrage among fans and sparked intense debate over the WNBA's officiating standards. Supporters of the Indiana Fever, alongside many neutral observers, have voiced frustration and anger at what they perceive as a lack of fairness and consistency in the calls made during these pivotal games. This fan backlash reflects broader concerns about the league's commitment to maintaining competitive integrity and delivering a product that is both entertaining and just. The controversy has also energized calls for significant reforms within the WNBA's officiating system, including demands for greater transparency in referee assignments, clearer standards for calls and fouls, and independent oversight to prevent bias and corruption. Fans, players, and commentators alike are pushing the league to adopt structural changes that would increase accountability and ensure consistency in how games are officiated moving forward. This heightened scrutiny and public pressure place the WNBA at a critical crossroads regarding how it chooses to address these issues. The league's response will not only impact its current reputation, but also the long-term trust of its players, teams, and fan base. The controversy serves as a catalyst for ongoing discussions about the importance of fairness and transparency in professional sports, underscoring that officiating must uphold the highest standards if the WNBA wants to sustain its growth and credibility in the fiercely competitive sports landscape. The officiating controversy surrounding the Indiana Fever and Las Vegas Aces semifinal series has emerged as a defining moment for the WNBA, revealing critical challenges in maintaining fairness, transparency, and trust in the league's competitive framework. From Lexi Hull's bold accusations and subsequent suspension to widespread criticism from players, coaches, and fans, the dispute has spotlighted both on-court and behind-the-scenes issues, including questionable calls, biased referee assignments, and even troubling allegations of corruption. This crisis underscores the urgent need for the WNBA to take meaningful action, implementing comprehensive reforms to officiating standards, increasing accountability, and fostering an environment where players can voice legitimate concerns without fear of reprisal. The resilience shown by the Fever amid adversity, it deserves recognition, but the league must ensure that such resilience is tested solely by competition on the court, not compromised by officiating controversies. Ultimately, how the WNBA addresses these challenges will shape its future credibility and growth. Upholding integrity, fairness, and transparency is essential not just for the health of the league, but for the respect and support of its players, fans, and the broader basketball community. This moment presents an opportunity for the WNBA to reinforce its commitment to excellence and fairness, setting a higher standard for professional women's sports.